Breaking news, good evening. We bring you a special report on a case that has shocked the nation on November 13, 2022. The University of Idaho students were found brutally murdered inside their off-campus home in Moscow. The victims Madison Mogan, Kayleighan Colves, Shauna Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were close friends, attacked as they slept. Police described it as one of the most disturbing crime scenes they had ever encountered. For weeks, an entire town lived in fear. There were no suspects, no clear motive, and no weapon. Then, a single clue changed everything: a knife sheath. Left beside one of the victims, the DNA found on it would eventually lead investigators to Bryan Kohberger, a criminology Ph.D. student living just miles away, who drove a white Hyundai Elantra, the same model captured on surveillance footage near the crime scene that fateful night. Bryan Kohberger wasn't just any suspect. He was studying the very nature of crime at Washington State University, a mere 10 miles from the victim's home. Classmates described him as quiet and intense, with an obsession for criminal psychology. But behind that seemingly calm exterior, it appears something far darker may have been growing. Investigators revealed his phone had pinged near the victim's house at least 12 times in the months leading up to the murders, suggesting he may have been watching them. On the night of the killings, his phone went silent for several hours, only to reconnect near the scene shortly after the estimated time of the attack, in a chilling twist. Police also discovered he'd applied for an internship with local law enforcement, proposing to study how emotions influence decision-making during the commission of a crime. This raises a haunting question: was he using his education to understand criminals, or to become one? The major break in the case didn't come from a confession, but from cutting-edge forensic science inside the home on King Road. Investigators found that lone knife sheath lying next to Madison Mogan. On its snap, a single, invisible trace of male DNA, too small to see, but powerful enough to tell a story. While forensics worked on that sample, the FBI built a vast digital map, piecing together phone records, vehicle movements, and hours of surveillance footage, all of which began to point towards one man, Bryan Kohberger. When agents covertly collected DNA from trash at his parents' home in Pennsylvania, they found their match. It was a direct link to the DNA on the sheath. The evidence was mounting. Piece by piece, the silence that had shrouded this case began to break. And yet, even with a suspect in custody, one question still haunts everyone: was this the calculated act of a meticulous killer, or the final, horrific implosion of a mind unraveling in real time? Let's return to that tragic night, November 13th, 2022. It was just after 4 a.m. when investigators believe Kohberger entered the King Road home, for friends were asleep inside. Their weekend, which had been filled with laughter and social events just hours before, about to end in unimaginable horror. A surviving roommate later told police she heard crying, a dog barking, and a male voice say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Moments later, there was only silence. When officers arrived at the scene later that morning, they discovered a tragedy so brutal it stunned even the most seasoned detectives. There were no signs of forced entry. The murder weapon was missing. All that remained was that single knife sheath and a set of footprints leading away into the darkness. Outside, the town of Moscow awoke to the jarring sight of flashing lights and sirens, completely unaware that a killer had already vanished as the sun rose over King Road. A small, tight-knit college town was changed forever. The search for answers had only just begun. It wasn't until December 30th, 2022, more than 6 long weeks after the murders, that the quiet morning in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, was shattered by the sound of sirens. A SWAT team surrounded a suburban home. Inside was Bryan Kohberger. The man they had been meticulously tracking for weeks. He had driven 2,500 miles from Idaho to his parents' house for the holidays, completely unaware that investigators were closing in when they finally moved in to make the arrest. Kohberger was reportedly taken by surprise wearing latex gloves and carefully separating his family's trash, seemingly in a desperate attempt to avoid leaving behind any further DNA evidence. In that moment, the faceless mystery of the Moscow murders was given a name, but the answers were still far from clear since his arrest. Bryan Kohberger has maintained his innocence through his legal counsel, his trial, which has been delayed, debated, and dissected by millions around the globe, now stands as one of America's most closely watched cases. And as the nation waits for justice, one chilling truth remains undeniable. Evil doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it studies them. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.